Welcome to Absolute Comics, right here at the Comic Historian Podcast Network, every Tuesday at about 5 p.m. Eastern? I'm trying to think of what time it is. Doing some
Yeah.
This is the show where I sit down with Sal from Comic Pop. I'm Benny from the Comic Historian channel. We talk about all the latest, greatest comic book news, comic book reviews, and stuff that is going on in the world of comics. So, it's also brought to you by G Fuel. Use code COMICS at checkout. Get yourself 10% off your G Fuel order. I'm currently drinking Nemesis tea from the Resident Evil line. Because they give you those really, really giant tubs of G Fuel, and then they send me multiple, so I'm still working on Nemesis tea. I think I've got like 4 of them up there.
Yeah, I feel like you've been drinking Nemesis tea for a while.
Yeah.
I'm sure they have new, delicious flavors for you to check out. But,
no, there's tons of new flavors. Some of them
Yeah.
good, some of them not. I will not speak of the ones I dislike. I like
that
sponsorships.
Nemesis, though.
But Nemesis,
Yeah.
that Nemesis tea is great. All right, guys, so let's get into it today, Sal. So let's just kick it off with talking about some comic books.
Yes.
Trinity Metal. So am I allowed to spoil this for you?
Please.
Swamp Thing absorbs all of the green, becomes Ultimate Swamp Thing, but the green appears to be dead. Jonah Hex is hit with a bullet that eats necrotic tissue.
Oh, no.
Robin King comes by and kicks almost everyone's butt, and then they go and we discover that the Batman Who Laughs secret weapon is, of course, Superboy Prime.
Right. Which you would know if you watched our episode where Scott came by the show and told us all what was going to happen in this issue.
I mean, it was fun. I will say that. I was enjoying it a lot. The reveal was great. So anyway, what do you think about the return of Superboy Prime?
I feel like, why not? You know, the fact is, if you're going to do this kind of like universe-shaking, all-in, no-holds-barred event, and you want to get every last dollar from every last DC fan, you got to cater. And there's a ton of Superboy Prime fans out there who love this character, can't wait to see them, like, show up and be important. He was teased at, and I think he was used a little bit in Johns' Shazam series?
No, he's used. He shows up and he can punch the magic out of things now.
Right. So that kind of, I don't know, testing for the character means like, okay, yeah, it would be a big moment. And as we pointed out earlier, like, this is kind of a tie-in, even though it is also written by Snyder.
Yeah.
And with traditional terrific art from Francis Manapul. So it's like, if they want it to feel indispensable, they better have something indispensable take place in it. Why not throw in Superboy Prime?
Yeah. The problem that I have with this is the same issue I had with Secret Empire, which I wasn't inherently against the event of Secret Empire. My biggest complaint was how they handled the tie-ins. I mean, the reveal of Superboy Prime coming back feels like it should be in an actual issue. And while I get he's even tweeted out, like, this is important, we're even going to recap it in 4, that if it's that important, why isn't it just 4?
Right. And I know what you're saying. What you're really saying is, if it's that important, why didn't Greg Capullo draw Superboy Prime? I want to see Greg Capullo's Superboy Prime.
No, I agree with that. That's true.
Now, that being said, I mean, Francis Manapul doing Superboy Prime, I'll take it. But I also want to see it. If I can get him in the actual metal event, let's stick him in there. And I think he will. I think it's more like Snyder wants to give him some breathing room. Like, there's going to be a lot. You know there's going to be a lot in issue 4. And you know he's just, because every issue is jam-packed with stuff. So you know that the reveal of Superboy Prime, he wanted to give some breathing space. And, hey, that issue was $6, which, you know, why not?
Here's my problem, though. Why does it have to be 6 issues? Why can't Death Metal be 8 issues and just have Speed Metal and Trinity Metal in the event?
Right.
Who in publishing, because I guarantee you that's not Scott Snyder going, okay, so big reveal, I want that in his side issue. Now, he didn't do that.
No.
I want it so that half the readers won't know it's happening.
Yeah. The fact that this issue is written by him is suspicious, because normally it's written by somebody else, and it's like, no. I just wanted to throw him into the issue, and DC thinks we can get some more money out of this if we put him, and we make an entire tie-in issue dedicated to him. But if Scott wrote this issue, it means it's indispensable and part of the story, so why isn't it just part of the story?
Chat's like, isn't Metal 7 issues? Fine. Why isn't it 9 issues? Do you really want to argue semantics, chat?
Right? I mean, and for all we know, it was gonna be, but they went like, it's got to come out. It's got to be finished by this date.
Right.
But if that's the case, you know, they had to have been finished early enough for it to come out on time. So this issue not being in any part drawn by Capullo suggests that this was a tie-in the whole time.
Well, because I guarantee you early on they decided that it would be a tie-in. I guarantee you Scott Snyder was sitting around like, okay, so you want me to make it 7 issues, chat.
Right.
And you don't want me to go to 8. And I feel like, so what can I chop? Which issue can I chop out? Which is the least important in mostly just giant reveals? Because that's what Trinity War is. There's just a lot more reveals. Nothing really happens in Trinity War, though. I mean, then again, they killed Hex. They killed the Green. Like, how is that not an important issue? It's one thing if this is all the fights. This is just the fights. You know?
Right. I feel like Scott is smart enough and has been in the game long enough to be able to orchestrate an event like this. I mean, you saw the whiteboard. The fact is he could literally go like, here's the event, here are the issues, here are the tie-ins, here's who's going to write them, probably people I know that I work with personally that I really want to give work to. Like, and why not, right? If you were the architect of the biggest DC event of the year, you know, you're going to give work to your friends, you're going to plot it out, and you definitely want to make sure that you are aware of where the trip lines are going to be, where the bumps in the road are going to be, and iron those out ahead of time and be like, if nothing's going to stop my momentum, I need to be able to like compartmentalize and of course leverage those into tie-ins that'll make the event that much more successful financially speaking. So right. I mean, like, you know, it's not his first rodeo, and I think that if he was to go like, ooh, Superboy Prime, like I can imagine him thinking about that and being like, oh, and then this can happen, and this can happen, and this can happen, and then he's like, that's a whole issue. Nah, I'll just make that an issue. Like, well, I don't think
they don't defeat Superboy Prime. He's the reveal at the end.
Oh, I know. No,
he's the secret weapon that is being sent out. Like,
yeah. But that issue, like that story, Dark Knight's Death Metal, Trinity War, or whatever, I think there's no issue 2 there. So it's just a one shot. It's just a one-off. Like
it's 3.5. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why it had, because like I said, I guarantee it was a publishing thing. Whoa, if we go 8, people aren't going to buy into it.
Well, and it'll finish a month later than we want it to. You don't forget, they also had to like morph the event to fit into 5G and then get out of 5G. So there probably was like 1 or 2 months in there with more issues, and they were like, like moving around. Play with this. Hell, maybe it was less. Maybe Death Metal was shorter, and he was like, I'll put Superboy Prime in there. He'll show up at like issue 4 or 5, and he'll do something, and then die because everyone's gonna die in the story, and,
or at least get a cold reset at the end of the whole thing.
Exactly. But then he was like, oh, no 5G. Screw it. Let's add a bunch of tie-ins. Let's do Speed Metal. Let's do the Trinity War. Like, let's put them all in there. Let's make it even bigger than it was gonna be.
Like, there's no way over half of the shit is staying. Like,
I mean, the fact is, like, the world itself is unrecognizable. It's just it's practically a blank slate for anything to happen, so that when the heroes succeed, the universe can go like whoop, and then it's not like, you know, Death Metal's gonna end and then like the next issue of Batman or Wonder Woman or Superman is gonna be them like wandering the wastelands and Superman being like, can't believe my arm is still dark-sided out. Like,
I can't believe my arm is dark-sided out.
I couldn't believe that either. That was a cool reveal, but still, like, I can't, you know, they're not gonna do that.
Well, he says in this one that he has the anti-life equation in him right now that he's fighting back.
Right, yeah, and otherwise he will be overwhelmed. He'll become full Darkseid. And if you think you're not going to get a Superman Darkseid who's shooting heat vision Omega beams, you know, you're dreaming.
That's in this issue, too. You really should read this issue. Oh, my God. Well, there's also a Batman who's actually Martha Wayne in a batsuit. Like a robotic batsuit, which is one of my biggest complaints about this. Like, Batman's like beating down this robotic Batman suit, and he's like, which one are you? I've beaten up so many evil Batmen. And she's like, I'm not Batman, I'm his mother. And Batman's like, oh, and that's it. That's all we get. Like,
yeah, like, that's a fun moment. It's too bad it will fall on people who can't help themselves but keep making Martha jokes. Yeah, but I like that. That's a cool.
But they didn't go anywhere into it. He didn't question it. He's like, all right, fine, it's my mom. Boom, boom, boom. You know?
Right. I mean, like, if you were Batman, if you're street level, like if you're Alfred, you know, and you're just like, everything's rebooted all the time. I don't know. You know, you don't concern yourself with the reality of bumping into an alternate reality version of like somebody you care about. You're like,
Right.
you're a fake alternate reality version of somebody I care about. You're not like, is it nice to see you again? Sure. Are you literally in a bat mech trying to kill my ward? Or no, then get out of here. Like, I'll just, forget it. Now, that being said, this is a great opportunity for them to be like, we're just going to go to a multiverse where, like, everything happened exactly the same. Only Batman died in I Am Gotham or I Am Bane or whatever the hell story that was. And then we'll just pluck that Alfred out of there.
Yeah. So, overall, I think it's an amazing issue. I don't think it should be a tie-in. I really do think it just needs to be an issue.
Yeah.
In this event.
There's no way it won't be in the hardcover.
Yeah, and that's just it. Like, it's I don't know. Does anybody ever look at a comic book event and go 10 issues? I don't know about that. Like,
I mean, sometimes I hear that complaint a lot.
I mean,
People being like, 10
I-
issues.
This is a legit question though, because like when I spoke with Nick Spencer, he was upset that his big MacGuffin had to be put into a side issue with the same thing. Marketing says. So who is the one stating, let's just cut these events short? Like,
Right. Who is this marketing genius who's ruining story structure and has been proven not to know what they're talking about?
Yeah,
Because, like,
that's what I mean.
It doesn't really work.
Well, here's what
you
blows
know?
my mind. Marvel will sit there and state that the event, like Secret Empire, has to be 10 issues or it won't sell. But then they'll also say, the more tie-ins we put in, the more things will sell.
Yeah. No, Marvel's
Because Nick
strategy
Spencer
is-
also was on that argument where everyone's like, why is there so many tie-ins to your event? And he's like, if you look at marketing, they say it works.
Right, but it doesn't, and we all know that. Like, no one buys Cloak and Dagger, but maybe they'll buy Empire Cloak and Dagger. Like, no.
I didn't buy any Empire tie-in. And I love the
didn't
snarky
either.
guys that are like, well, I'm the one who read all of Empire. And I love, and this is my favorite tweet. This was, and if you're watching this, you gave me such a chuckle. You really did. You get, and I'm going to do this in a snarky voice, but I don't mean this in a snarky way because I know exactly what
you're saying.
What you're saying. I do, because I feel the exact same way when I know all the lore of my favorite video games. But
Yeah.
I'm going to do a snarky voice for this. But I got a response to a tweet when I said, doesn't Empire feel convoluted? It's got 36 tie-ins. And somebody tweeted me, they're like, oh, I love that it has so many tie-ins because I can read them all. And I get to be that asshole who knows all the answers.
If your argument is I get to be the asshole, stop, you've lost.
No, but I agree with that argument because that's why I read all this stuff in my video games.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Excuse me, you're incorrect about the lore of the black mages. You see, when they went into the void...
Well, and that's the most frustrating thing is like you're arguing apples and oranges when you do that because it's like, you know who didn't read the tie-ins? The people who wrote the event. So like,
Yeah.
the justification you have is felonious at best because the main writer probably didn't have anything to do with whatever was happening in this tie-in. Like, if you think, God, what was that event? Was it Damnation? I was thinking of the one with that horrible Dennis Hopeless Doctor Strange series, where it was just a Spider-Woman book. It was the one where like New York gets plunged into darkness and Kingpin becomes mayor as a result.
That was an amazing book. That was great. I forget what it's called though. It was totally forgettable. But it was a good story.
The event was fine.
Yeah. The tie-ins are garbage.
But those tie-ins, I was like, what are you doing? But no one cares. But anyway, yeah. I'm looking forward to a day when, like, if the story needs to be 12 issues, just give them 12 issues. Like, what's of course the flip side of that coin is like when you have House of M, which is like 3 issues of story stretched out over 8 issues of nonsense, and you're like, dude, Bendis, man. Did you really need 8 issues to tell
No.
the equivalent of one fight scene?
If you want to do a fun thing with a lot of tie-inable stuff, like Secret War was great for that. House of M was great for that. Just give me a 4-issue main story and let me get into all these tie-ins. You don't need to fluff them out by being like, by the way, that weird Wolverine showed up. Aren't you curious? Go read.
Right, or like, hey, I know we sold you on Empire, but maybe as a result you'll pick up Savage Avengers? Like,
and that's also the worst part about the Empire tie-ins. Like, they would do the stupidest thing in the world. Like, they would be like, all right, so we're going to fight against this big bad. It's a part of our normal storyline. By the way, there's a Kree here, and he's in a war, but whatever, we'll get to him later. Let's do our storyline, and that's how we're tying this in.
Yeah. The only tie-in that I read, and I really dropped off after issue 2, was the X-Men tie-in.
Of course you've read the X-Men tie-in.
Well, because it was the first issue and the last issue were written by Hickman, and you could tell that he was like, I have this like mini story that's going to happen in X-Men. They want it to be Empire related. Yeah, I can cram the Empire thing in there. Like, it's actually kind of a fun idea, and he just goes like, nah, I'm just having fun. But yeah, somebody mentioned Secret Wars, and I don't even know. Secret Wars needs like another category, because it wasn't so much that they were tie-ins as much as they canceled all the books.
Yeah, that was the problem.
The only books you could get were the tie-ins. That's so audacious and bold, and to have most of them be good?
That's the problem. A lot of the ones that I was enjoying, that was my last burn with Marvel, and I legit just stopped reading Marvel for a little while after that, like without being work-related, because half the stories I was enjoying, they just stopped. Like Doc Green. Whatever happened to Doc Green? We'll never know. Miles Morales at the time. What was Miles Morales doing? He had like a whole story like, oh no, his world's dead. Like,
nope, they died.
Miss Marvel got canceled. Yeah, Gwenpool gone. Like Deadpool, literally it ended Deadpool's story. At least he got to acknowledge it and resolve. But you could tell that it was, because it was very much like, but by the way, that villain you've been looking for, he's right here. Just go fight him.
Yeah, okay, cool, thank you. Punisher, I think, got 2 endings because they also put him in Secret Wars issue 1. But But that being said, though, all those tie-ins were really cool. Years Future Past, friggin' Siege, Angela, 1602, Witch Hunter. Like, they're all really cool.
Yeah.
Like, all of them were really cool. And it's weird because it's like, because the thing is, with tie-ins, they're optional, or at least they ought to be. Secret Empire, not so much, but only because Spencer clearly was like, no. Like, he wanted them to be, well, the story got away from him. But tie-in should be dispensable. And like, if you want like extra stuff, like if you see a scene where like Captain America and Taskmaster are gonna fight in the main event, and then it's got to cut because we got 20 other characters to deal with, sure, put that fight in the Captain America tie-in.
Yeah,
because I'd like to see that, please. But otherwise, you know, if you don't care, if you're like, oh cool, they fought, whatever, then you don't need to buy that. It's just optional. It's just extra stuff. It's deleted scenes practically. With Secret Wars, if you don't want to read the tie-ins, you're only reading one series, and it's called Secret Wars. Like, I don't know what you call that, but it's something else.
It's Secret Wars.
But yeah, it's Secret Wars. It was that period. It was really cool.
I just don't know why they didn't reboot a lot of the storylines afterwards. Like, oh, we're just gonna pick up where we left off. Don't worry about it.
I know. Well, yeah. Well, Marvel didn't know what the hell they were doing after Secret Wars. They were like, is it finals already?
I want to talk about actually that real quick, because this is related to a tweet that you and I both got attached to recently.
Oh, yeah.
You can follow me at Comic Story. You can follow him at Sal Says What. So I tweeted out that we're doing a lot more Marvel on the channel so let me explain something real quick. And I know you follow a very similar thing.
I know.
Everyone assumes that a popular comic is what we should cover.
Right.
Okay? A popular comic gets views from comic book readers. All of the comic book YouTube channels are not structured for comic book readers. We appreciate you guys there. We do stuff to make you happy, but none of them are properly structured for comic book readers. Comic book channels in general, me, Sal, Drake, I'm trying to think of Owen, Eris, everyone that is Important's channel, what they do is we look at what is popular in pop culture. That has nothing to do with X-Men being the #1 seller of whatever month, or Hulk beating Batman. If you notice, if I cover Hulk, it'll get okay views, but you know it'll get better views. Whatever is talked about in the overarching pop culture world.
Yeah.
So, the problem that Marvel has, and they've come out and said movies don't affect their comics.
Yeah.
Marvel is... This is almost like a video in itself. They're way too focused on their movies, video games, and shows.
Yes.
If you read Marvel Comics, okay, I am a Marvel Comics fan. I know everyone's like, Benny's the DC guy. I love me some Moon Knight. I love me some Spider-Man. I love me some Wolverine. I read Deadpool out the wazoo. I enjoy Punisher when they do it right. I have a list of Marvel books that I go buy, okay?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is the problem is Marvel comic viewers, they're all related to what's popular. Spider-Man doesn't even get views unless something's going on. Now, it's not to say they don't tank, but I can't do like a video about Spider-Man like on a weekly basis when there's something going on. So what I'm getting at is the reason why most channels have shifted over to DC centric, even Rob over at Comics has done a lot of DC, is because when Marvel's not doing movies or video games or TV shows, which is what they've been doing since Spider-Man, you got to think their next big thing was the MCU. They weren't even talking about half the movies until recently.
No.
Like they were like, Disney Plus, movies are also going to come out.
Right. and maybe Black Widow. How about that? Like, yeah.
What ends up happening is the casual viewer of these things doesn't care. Like they're like, I'll look up Spider-Man when Spider-Man's a thing. All comic channels take a hit between movies, like in general. So what ends up happening is what is getting views is topics like Batman's dead. Scott Snyder did some crazy shit with Joker. Like that gets views.
Right. If it's covered on by Variety, Hollywood Reporter, if it's a massive DC fandom experience or it's covered that way, you know, like there are things people in the comic book YouTube spectrum would love to talk about that just it doesn't pay to cover. Unfortunately, and I know there's exceptions.
You know what DC? You know what Marvel stuff? Comics, because everyone's always like, "Oh no, there's so much cool stuff happening in comics. They're selling like big." Yeah, but you know what? Let me ask you this: when was the last time you saw an article on the X-Men that wasn't from CBR,
right,
or Bleeding Cool? I mean, but you know who I have seen,
and it's
Venom.
Yeah,
I've seen Venom.
Venom's big.
Yeah, Venom's big. So I cover Venom.
There's also a movie,
and there's also a movie,
and they're working on it.
So, I'm just taking a quick moment because this ties into the discussion of the X-Men or why none of us have been covering much Marvel. For me, I've been waiting for this stupid game to come out because now people are Googling Marvel shit.
Yes. Yeah. And we can take that as an opportunity to educate them on something that they either didn't know about or haven't had a chance to check out yet.
Yeah.
And hopefully sell more comics, which is my whole goal is just let's sell more books. Like let's sell more stories, get more fans into this world. But you know, if they're not looking, we're only talking to the people who already know. And so that's where we are. And there's always exceptions to the rule. Like, you know, my channel is small in comparison to some channels that only exclusively cover like the minutia about comics or like how comics are crafted and built. And it's like, yeah, they do that and that alone, and they focus on it, and they make like one video every couple of weeks, and you know but they're all about that one thing, and they get all of the comic book readers, and they get covered up by a bunch of comic book news outlets that are specifically catered to comic books, and so their audience is all the comic book readers, and that's an exception to the rule, but it's also only bankable for like one person out of 1,000 comic book channels that are all like, I'm going to teach you what like comic book terminology is all about. And it's like, good for you, man. I think that's wonderful, but I hope you're not trying to make a living off of it because like that's not how it works.
This comes back to an email that I get a lot of actually, Sal, and I know you do too. I get a lot of emails from people that are like, oh, I want to do what you're doing, but I want to cover indie. Cool. The reason I don't cover indie is unless it's The Boys or Umbrella Academy, no one's looking for it.
Right.
That's literally what it is.
I'll do you one better.
I cover an indie book. It'll get 10,000 views. It'll be well accepted by the people who watched it. And no casual person is going to watch that video. And the amount of time I put into that video, I can also put into Batman kills Superman and get a ton of views. And I have a business to run.
Deadpool fights Wolverine. Yeah. That might help. But even then, with Deadpool, it's like, well, is there a Deadpool movie? You know, Deadpool does well, but not Batman well.
No, thank you. They're saying about Kate Bishop. Everyone's like, whoa, you've never covered Kate Bishop before. No. I've also never covered Miss Marvel that in depth before. It's not because I don't like the characters. It's because no one is Googling them.
Yeah, but the biggest tool when that Hawkeye show comes out.
Oh, yeah. That Hawkeye show is going to come out. Kate Bishop's going to get a bunch of views. She's the first character in Marvel's Avengers video game.
Yes.
So that's also going to get her. And this is for all you up and coming YouTubers. This is all for all you up and coming comic book YouTubers, just YouTubers in general. Anybody who wants to cover pop culture. This is actually a big tip for you and how we decide these things. Okay, I'm going to give you a 2-second lesson in the middle of this podcast, and it's going to make no sense. Google Trends. This is how we decide. I don't know about Sal, but this is what I do. So if you look, Kate Bishop. No one cared. That's
no
the
one's
fact.
looking.
Oh, but look, ever since the announcement, Kate Bishop. For audio listeners,
Yeah, they're like, what?
I'm doing something, and what I'm doing is showing them what we use to figure it out. There we go. So, if you look, this is how we decide. And what I'm showing is from the time frame of 2019 to the time frame of August 23rd, 2020, Kate Bishop got almost no searches. Like,
Yep.
I'm pretty sure this is in the thousands or whatever, but they just do it by base numbers, so it's like 4.
Yep.
6.
Right.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's a pretty higher number than that. But if you go all the way to the reveal, it's 100. It's capped out. So what that means is that's what I'm talking about. Like, it says people would assume, like, Batman. Even Batman.
Yeah, like, well, and Batman is kind of a hard one to search for because, like, Batman is a backpack, an action figure, a toy. Like, you know, it's scrubbing bubbles. Like,
even this though, look, Batman from last year to right now, 3,700,000, whatever that is. But as of that movie announcement,
boom, spike. Like, you better have a Batman video out around like August 23rd to the 29th because that would have helped you. You know.
Trying to think of another obscure one. So here you go.
Do Saga. Search Saga.
Oh yeah, that never gets.
Like it's the biggest indie image book. Yeah,
I worked at the word Saga. That's got a lot of views.
Yeah, that's true.
Saga comic.
Right.
The word Saga. Saga is a hard one because it's such a.
All right. What about Something's Killing the Children or something like that? Like something where it's like really specific.
Here's X-Men. Hold on.
X-Men.
So X-Men did get a speak, and you saw me do videos with X-Men when Hickman came in. It then leveled back out.
Yep, until New Mutants was announced again.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I was like, what happened to July? New Mutants, right. and now
New
it's
Mutants came out.
Yep. Sandman.
So
that's a good one. Yeah, Sandman. It probably got.
But there's a lot.
Look,
actually, they did pretty well because of the audio.
Because of the audio drama. But see, it's just an example because people always wonder why we don't. So what I'm saying is, it's just a quick lesson for everybody who wants to come into it. You can cover whatever you want, but it's a juggling act of trying to get what you want out there. So and it's DC Comics in general for the last, let's just say in general, 65, 95. Oh, that was the Harley Quinn thing. And then they were 50, 50, 50, 50, right? So the Marvel Comics.
Yep.
60, 60. See how they don't have spikes?
Yeah.
It's because it's general searching. So that's an example.
By the way, because YouTube is connected with Google, like these are the trends that are across the platform. Like it's not that it's searching Google searches, but it's using similar algorithms and because it's all integrated into itself. So like if you search on Google, those searches will equate to YouTube as well.
Deadpool's down, way down. No wonder he's getting no views.
I know. It's like, what?
Related query. This is also important for those who are wondering. How to get Deadpool in Fortnite. So anyway, I think you get my point when I'm saying this is why we pick the things we do. This is why we do what we do. And that is... I may have completely borked
our show. Like the visual.
Yeah. You'll see in a minute.
Yeah. And the other thing is like, even just in your own, like in the dirt hard target searches, if you're like just from my experience, like we do a review show every week. And reviews, by the way, by and large, don't do very well on YouTube, particularly in comics. But I will say
they're too cheap. That's always my theory on that. People want reviews for things you can't impulse buy. People impulse buy comics.
Exactly. But when we were covering, if we were to highlight Empire, because it's the biggest Marvel event of the year, versus anything that happens to Batman, we will do significantly less business. Like, way fewer people watch the show overall, much less initially. Because if we're like, we're looking at Empire, Mantis showed up and fought the swordsman, like, no one is checking. And when I say nobody, I don't mean like you specifically in the comments who's like, I check every week, I check every day. And it's like, sure, good for you. But like, comparing and contrasting, because somebody on Twitter was like, you guys have been only doing DC, and if you only do DC, you're going to build DC fans. And it's like, no. I know what
there is
people are searching for.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know what they're not.
There is some truth to that, because yes, we will get majority DC fans by doing DC, but if the Marvel fans are not looking for Swordsman or Mantis or Empire,
then we're not getting them anyway.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting, and it's a juggling act. It's Benny gave you some really, really solid advice that people would have charged you for, but
you'd be surprised the amount of people that are charged. Like, he's not joking. If you go to one of those influencers, social media gurus, they'll be like, "So this is Google Trends," and they'll get like $100 an hour.
Cater to that.
Yeah.
No, and lose your voice and not have any identity by just catering your channel to Google Trends. But like, that's how it works. But it's also a juggling act. It's not just one thing, right? Like, 'cause it's also about like your presentation, your style, the length of video. Like, it's a whole juggling act, and so it's not just like, okay, so I've got Google Trends. I am not successful yet. What the hell? Then you lied to me. It's like,
all right, let's get on.
Go ahead. But indie is the thing, like, right? Nobody searches for indie, and that's too bad.
Actually, I think part of the reason Saga doesn't do as well is because it's so convoluted with the word Saga. It's also why when people try to come up with like channel names and things like that, I'm always like, you want the word comic in your name, you want the word video game in your name, you want something that will come up at a search algorithm, as lame as it is. You know?
Yeah, just be clever, but don't be too clever, because the algorithm hates that.
Yeah. Like, what a great example? One of my favorite names out there. Owen Likes Comics. It's I'm serious. It's a genius name. It works.
It is.
It says comics in the name. It says specifically what the channel's about. It's great.
It introduces you to the host. This is who it's about.
Who's going
to give it to you?
It's a shitty name. Comic Drake. He's a comic book duck.
It's the exact same thing.
I'm messing with Drake.
Comics.
Yeah, I'm messing with Drake. I'm just. So I'm just saying, name-wise, those are some of the more genius ideas. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, all right, let's move on, because we are now way behind, and I have to stream Marvel's Avengers over the other channel after this. So
yeah. Well, so DC September 19th is going to be Batman Day.
That's every year.
DC's. I know, and that's the thing. I saw this and I was like, oh, I'm so glad that this is a topic, because it's so frustrating. Because DC has announced, so September 19th. We are going to start Batman Day. And there's going to be a whole bunch of activities and events, like free digital comics, activity kits for kids, and like a virtual 5K walk and all kinds of stuff. And it's like, you've been doing Batman Day as a marketing event for at least 5 years.
Wait, they're starting it?
Like, they're announcing it. They're announcing it like it's a new thing that you've never heard of before.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, you're in charge of Batman Day every year.
It's not like some fan thing. Some fan thing that like took off, and they're just like, oh, okay, well now we'll own up to it.
Yeah. It's just incredible. I was like, yeah, it's every year around September 21st. Oh, you're doing it 3 days early. Cool.
We'll move down the line here. We've got Marvel announced they've assembled native artists and writers for Marvel's Voices Indigenous Voices. An anthology will visit some of the Native American characters. Actually, I didn't know about this. I will say this is pretty cool, because I actually get a lot of requests asking about Native American superheroes, and I don't even know any of them really. No, I'm serious.
True.
Like, they don't show up.
You don't get
ever.
a lot of them. Usually they have like really, really inappropriate names.
Yeah. Isn't there one called Apache or something?
There's Warpath, Apache Chief you may be thinking of, which is a DC character. But
okay.
And there's another one who had he was a member of the X-Men team. I can't remember his name.
I know Nightwolf. Is that one of them, or is that a Mortal Kombat?
Nightwolf is a Mortal Kombat character, and I think he's also a Marvel character.
Okay, I'm not crazy then.
I love it because actually one of the most like one of the characters introduced in Giant Size X-Men #1 was a Native American character who died like on the mission, and then they never brought him back. And he's one of the few characters they never resurrected. But they have brought.
Tevye's right. There's a version of Red Arrow, Connor Hawk.
Yes.
And then they killed him.
Thunderbird. Thank you.
Thunderbird's another one. Yep.
Danny Moonstar, of course, from New Mutants, who's awesome. She also is. She's such a cool character. Long Shadow. Yeah. There's
But either way, I think that's a cool idea.
Yeah. Who's the character they brought in that they were like? It was during Secret Wars. It was during like Marvel 1862 or something like that.
I don't know.
Red Wolf. It was Red Wolf.
I know there's Red Lion, the Black Panther ripoff that DC did.
Huh? No. No. This is Red Wolf. He was just he's.
You okay?
Oh well.
Yeah. You might cut out, but it sounded like it was an actual.
Oh
issue.
yeah, no, I literally bumped the wire.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
We're good. Obviously, we're doing this Black Panther discussion at the end of this episode, so I want to save that for last. We're not rushing through it.
Sure, of course.
So moving down, Empire event killed and resurrected Jennifer Walters as She-Hulk. In Empire 6, she finally spoke of the Green Door so that we can have the immortal She-Hulk run. Do we know if that's going to revert her out of Savage She-Hulk?
I doubt it. Yeah. I fear that she will be. Yeah. I'm worried that not worried. I think that's what everyone's hoping for.
I don't mind the concepts of Savage She-Hulk, but I don't.
Right.
But I thought it was gonna go somewhere, if you know what I mean.
I do indeed. I know exactly what you mean.
And
so I think it did. I think it's just
no,
it's gone
it didn't.
as far as it can go.
It didn't really go anywhere. What it turned into is just we can't use Hulk because Al Ewing wants to use him for Immortal Hulk. So make She-Hulk into Hulk. That's what it turned into.
Yeah.
Because she hasn't been She-Hulk this whole time, and this whole Savage She-Hulk thing, it's been cool. But like I said, I thought it was gonna go somewhere, and it went to her dying. Like that doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense if you ask me.
Right. No, I completely understand. I don't like it. And it's funny because they teased you. Like in Empire, they gave her a hammer, and she's like, "I'm back," and then they were like, "Nah." But I feel like that might have been actually a strategic move by Ewing and the team who worked on Empire, which is, I think Ewing actually was co-writing Empire with Slott, so actually that makes perfect sense. But the idea was that I think Ewing was like, I'm finally going to do something with She-Hulk. Like I have an idea for her, I want to use her, and I'm going to do this. And
well, it's funny because it feels like She-Hulk was the Hulk replacement.
Yeah.
And you're right. Al Ewing had no use for her.
Right. She just didn't play a role in his story yet.
So it was almost like Marvel marketing was like, well, everyone recognizes the Hulk. We need a Hulk. Can we just make her into the Hulk? And the only thing that seemed to come out of that was she got into a pseudo relationship with Thor.
Yep.
And everyone bitched and moaned that she wasn't very feminine. That was the two things that came out of this.
Yeah, both things no one was happy about.
Yeah, and what I find to be the funniest thing is, so the first time that we've seen She-Hulk since then has been in Fortnite, and they made her super muscular feminine.
Yep.
So
okay.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, they are going back in that direction.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are trying to play 4D chess when it comes to this Fortnite thing, where they're like, Galactus is in Fortnite, means they're going to use him in the MCU. Oh, She-Hulk looks like She-Hulk from 20 years ago. Bet they're putting her back to normal. And it's like, are they, or were those just things that they wanted to put into Fortnite?
Yeah, Galactus is dead if you read the comics.
I know, but he's but they're thinking no, they're using him in the Fortnite game, so that means that they're trying to normalize Galactus so people will be okay with him being in the movies. And it's like, all right, maybe.
No, but they're not even using him in the Fortnite unless we got a storyline. I play Fortnite.
I know. I saw an article about it where they were like, oh, this means that he's going to be in it. And it's like, Okay.
I don't know, because he's not even actually in Fortnite right now.
Right.
He's in the load screen.
Yeah, that's it. It's like, whoa. No, I think no. No one who wrote a stupid news article about that was right. The reality is, of course, they're going to use Galactus. They've proven that space is awesome in the MCU, and Galactus is the biggest thing. Why
I mean,
wouldn't they
he
use
might
Galactus?
get used, and someone said this to me, the biggest problem with Fortnite comic book and what happens at Fortnite being canon to the story, which,
Yes.
by the way, I am all for. Do you know how many people I've had that come at me and go, oh my God, Fortnite
They're
is in
ruining
Marvel?
everything.
They're ruining everything. And I'm like, no. Or they signed up with the biggest game in the world. Even on its decline, it is still the biggest game in the world.
Yeah, no,
Like,
that's a great get. Good
Yeah.
call. Like,
and then you put it into the story, and then you read the story, and the story goes, to find out what happens, go read Thor. Like,
yeah, yeah, it does more to sell you a comic book than any other multimedia attempt
Yeah.
between Marvel and anything.
And what I also love about all of this, everyone's like, well, they made it canon. That means they're desperate. I'm like, oh, so them having Batman, Joker, Harley Quinn, all of that, because DC didn't make it canon, that wasn't a desperate move?
Right? No, it's desperately successful, and it'll make everyone money, and it'll get your brand out there, which is all they want to do. Like,
Yeah.
we're trying to get kids under 15 to buy comic books. Hey, where are all of them?
Fortnite.
Most of them are playing Fortnite.
I mean,
It's just such a genius.
it would be amazing if they ended this whole thing with, you know how Fortnite does those in-game concerts?
Yeah.
Like, you could all sit around and watch a viewing of Avengers or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Could you imagine that? That would be incredible.
Yeah.
I will say the Fortnite tie-in thing has one funny thing. So I got really into Fortnite with this whole thing. It's genius because one thing that I like about this video game called Escape from Tarkov, it's very Battle Royale-esque. You have 20 people enter a map, but you have quests. Oh, I'm looking for a flash drive. I'm looking for this. So it's more of me doing the quest, and if I happen to come across players, then we get into a firefight.
Right.
Fortnite threw in all of those quests. So it's like, go get Mjolnir as Thor and then go find someone to beat with it. Or as She-Hulk, go to her law office. And if I happen to come across players, I get in a fight. But I'm doing questing on these Marvel characters.
Yeah. Oh, and it's also introducing you to the character and to what they are all about.
Yeah,
You
She-Hulk had
understand-
to go to She-Hulk's office. Then she had to go break vases and Hulk out to get the
Right.
emote.
It's not like they are Overwatch skins, which tells you nothing about the character, and it's just a cool visual, which, by
Yeah.
the way, is still a good idea, but like it's actually in some way story driven and introduces the player to a character as opposed to just the visual of the character. Like, that's cool. That's smart. I think that's great.
So anyway, though, so the story is supposed to go somewhere. The helicarrier is being closer to the island. The problem with it is, if this isn't canon, that story is eventually going to get wiped out of Fortnite, and unless you Google it, you're not going to know what happened.
Yeah.
Like, oh, what did Galactus, the Shield helicarrier, Iron Man, and Thor do in Fortnite?
Right.
The other weird thing is, I was looking through upcoming updates. So there's a Joker event coming in Halloween.
Yeah.
So Marvel will still be there.
I know. This is the thing that I've been pitching forever. I was a firm believer back before, because I think they just changed it. But like, the Lego video games. Lego made Marvel and DC video games, irrespective of each other, but by the same studio. And I'm thinking to myself, like, if ever we're going to get a real Marvel DC crossover, the first place we'll probably get it is in the Lego franchise, because it's one studio, it's just their marketing teams, and it's just free money, and everyone will buy it. And it's already made. There's no development that needs to be put into it. But Fortnite could be the other place, but it's still video games. It's all about video games because it's the widest possible audience, biggest possible reach. Even if Marvel and DC don't want their characters to cross over, if they leave them there, they're gonna see crossovers, whether they want them to or
Right.
not.
Okay,
it's gonna
okay.
happen.
So the Marvel event leaves November 17th, and it's going to swap out with the Joker Last Laugh event, which will
it.
feature Joker, Poison Ivy, and Midas Rex.
Oh, okay. That's
And
funny.
then apparently they also said we're probably going to be bringing back the Batman pack as well. So as soon as Marvel leaves, you can then be Batman.
That's amazing. Okay, because honestly, like, neither studio is that stupid to be like, oh, you're working with Disney? Well, then I'm passing. I'm pulling everything. Like, no, they'll just wait. Okay, fine. Wait then. But I'll be waiting myself to see you guys work together one day. You should, because it's such a no-brainer. Come on. I mean, like, that's the closest thing to that stupid Oasis thing you've ever seen, you know, where it's like, you want to be Batman climbing a freaking mountain and be Spawn and punch Kratos in the face? Go to the Oasis.
It's pretty amazing, so I don't know what any of this stuff is at this point.
Right. No. It's fun. Like, good. But I like you, I think it's a great idea. Like, get some cross promotion, and I like that it's like a thing. It's a real thing that matters. Because who cares? Like, who's complaining? Really? Like,
the people that are complaining. Like, I just love the comment of Marvel is desperate. They're going. This is showing them dying out to DC. I'm like,
no.
What are you smoking that you think that having a tie-in comic to Fortnite is going to ruin
biggest video
your
game ever? Like, if Benny and I could have Fortnite skins, we would do it.
You guys want dad bod comic book readers?
Exactly. Like, hey, you want a really slow character?
You want a guy that's gonna get winded before he touches ground?
Yeah. Done. And he says something snarky right before he throws up. That's me. Here's your character.
All right, so
I mean, yeah.
Okay,
totally.
go ahead. Yeah, I'm just trying to keep us moving forward here.
Yeah, please.
What is in store for Marvel now that the Kree and the Skrull have united? Here's my theory, Sal.
Yeah.
Nothing. Because they don't use those characters.
They don't. They will be there until probably Al Ewing does something with them.
No one uses the Kree and the Skrulls. Kree got used along with the Skrulls came in Secret War? No. Secret
Invasion. Secret Invasion.
That was the last time they had anything significant. Okay?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
The Kree only got used recently due to the Inhumans push. But guess what? We got X-Men again.
So who cares? Put him back in space.
Yeah.
I mean, like, within the context of the story and being a longtime Marvel fan, it's like, oh, that's cool. Like, wow, the Kree and the Skrull finally put it together. Good for them. And it sets up something for the future. What it is, I have no idea, and I don't think they do either. You're absolutely right. Like, they just don't have any plan.
So,
but it'll come up if and when Sword becomes a show, or they
Guardians
do something
3.
with Guardians 3.
I can
That's
see
when
Guardians
they'll show
3.
back up.
Yep. Like we said, even Marvel Comics tries to play into their own movie releases. So
been doing it forever. They've been doing it before they even had a stake in those movies.
Yeah, they were. I mean, even when X-Men, like, oh, we're gonna launch a new X-Men book with the movie. We don't. It's gonna be shit, but we're gonna do it.
Yep. Oh, X2 has Wolverine as the main character again. Cool. 2 Wolverine books.
Yeah. You're not even joking.
Put Lady Deathstrike in it.
Okay, so Superboy Prime we already talked about, which leaves us with the last big thing. Daredevil Annual 1 shows a retcon for the character. Do you know this off the top of your head?
I did. It's they retconned a hilarious plot point into a new character, and it was clever and it was very impressive. Zdarsky pulled a hat trick with that annual, in so far as he retconned the history of Matt Murdock in a big fundamental way that can be changed at the drop of a hat, but its impact is far-reaching and has limitless story potential. So, holy crap.
Mike Murdock?
Nuts. Yeah. Matt Murdock once faked his own death and pretended to be his own twin brother. Okay. And then, through further chicanery, they created a copy of Matt Murdock who thought he was Mike Murdock. And then in this annual, he basically makes himself real.
Mike Murdock?
Mike Murdock is like, I know that I'm fake and shouldn't exist, but I want to exist. So he does some stuff in the book that I don't want to spoil that basically results in him becoming real. And he basically says, I want to be in continuity, and then he does. And so it's like, you have just changed. Because it used to be that Matt Murdock was
now I need
like,
to know,
no.
how did he do that?
He stole the Hood's Norn stones.
Oh.
And used those.
That's kind of cool.
It also retcons that there's another child of a major Daredevil character who I don't think they had introduced yet, or have introduced since then. So that's pretty exciting too. And they know each other. It's neat. It was like, wow, that's not egregious. I should be upset by this, but I'm not. I guess that's how you can tell someone knows what they're doing. Like, cool. It's just smart. It was just a smart retcon.
I mean, I'm a huge fan of when things break the fourth wall or the meta. I mean, that's why I'm such a fan of Deadpool, even Harley Quinn.
Yeah. He doesn't wish to be in continuity, but like that's the he knows he's not real and he wants to be a real boy. You know, like it's that kind of thing.
You know what that makes me think of? It's similar, but not at the same time. We'll talk about this before we go to our last topic of the Black Panther situation. Did you read Flash? You didn't read Flash 761, did you?
Nah.
So what Joshua Williamson basically reveals is that everything that has happened to the Flash in his entire run,
I heard about this, yes,
has been done by Reverse Flash.
Including
Heroes of Crisis.
Yes.
I was like, as soon as I read that, I'm like, in one line, they made Heroes in Crisis not good, but we can ignore it.
They fixed it.
Yeah.
You should go crazy and use the Speed Force. Oh, you should cover it up and pin it on Booster Gold.
Exactly. What they did was he's revealed that one of his powers that came out of the negative Speed Force was the ability to give off hypnotic suggestions that you wouldn't know came from him.
Yeah.
And everything that seemed out, and I even said it in my review that I'm going to put out on Friday. I was like, everything that we as comic book readers just chalked up to, that's for comic books. Why are Barry and Wally fighting and not working together? Comic books. All of that was Reverse Flash telling them to do it.
Right?
And then you get to the end of all of these reveals that everything that we just chalked up to comic books but just didn't make sense on paper. You get to the ending and it shows Wally and he's like, you should cover up the murders.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they fixed Heroes in Crisis.
Yeah. And they left it open where it's like, you could go even further where it's like, hey, you should really all the self-doubt, like all this, like the scene that King retconned from DC Universe Rebirth where it's like, well, how could I ever forget about you? Your hope. And it's like, your hope? That's a lot of responsibility, Wally. I don't know if you should really believe in it. You should really have some self-doubt. Oh, like...
Dude,
they could fix it all.
They could use this power of the Reverse Flash, who's also not like some no-name villain. This would be like the Joker got a new power. But they could retcon anything that didn't work over the last 5 years. It was Reverse Flash fucking with the timeline.
They could retcon the Mark Waid run. They could retcon it for any Flash story that hasn't worked ever. They can fix.
That's what I mean. Like the weirdest part about this whole thing is it's Reverse Flash. He could time travel. So you could literally be like, you know what happened back in 1988 with Robin dying? That was Reverse Flash telling Joker. Do you know why Jason Todd came back and questioned Batman's actions? That was Reverse Flash talking to him.
Right? Like, they could do it all. They could blame it on him for everything. That's brilliant and also like, damn it. Like that's too much power.
They have the easy because the way they showed it is he could run so fast you don't know he was there.
Genius. It's so genius. I love it.
Oh man, I just love it. I'm like, this is the greatest power to ever give a villain, and you gave it to somebody who time travels, is in multiversal situations. Like this,
he can be everywhere at once.
You didn't give it to like, Deathstroke can do it, so it still has to work. You know? Like,
no, that's really cool.
But yeah, that was the big reveal in Flash 761. And then they revealed, almost like the movies, it was weird because the ending felt like it was going to tie into death metal. Yeah. And I think it kind of did. Like, we all got to run from the speed metal thing. Yep. And Reverse Flash is like, this isn't how it's supposed to go. And he runs into the Speed Force and Barry chases them. And then they're like, and no one saw them ever again. I'm like, what?
Wait, what? Yeah.
What do you mean no one saw the Flash ever again?
Well, because everything's gonna get like either fixed, rebooted, or whatever. Like they jump into the Speed Force, they run away from the Darkest Night or whatever, and then find out what happens at the end of Death Metal to find out what happens to those guys.
Yeah, so we'll see. I got my review of that one coming out along with my review of Death Metal. We're trying something new over on my YouTube channel. Instead of doing the day one releases, I'm just gonna give you my reactions to it all instead of putting it into a story. Like, here's what happened, guys. Holy shit! What do you think about it?
Exactly.
Trying that out. So.
I'm excited.
But all right, last biggest topic here is the Black Panther thing.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's kind of aware. Chadwick Boseman, or Boseman? How is it pronounced?
It's Boseman.
Boseman?
I think.
Okay. He passed away at age 42. He died of cancer, and he's been dealing with it the entire time we've known him as Black Panther, which is the shocking thing. The second biggest shocking thing, because, I mean, not to sound morbid, but actors pass away all the time, but the amount of support and the amount of people that he inspired are coming out and talking about it, it's insane. Like, it really is. Like I said, we've had actors pass away before, but I've not seen one in a long time that affected this many people.
No, I was taken aback in a nice way by his influence and how decent a human being he was. Like, not that I suspected that he wasn't, but it's more like I didn't know anything about him. I'd only seen him in like 2 movies, one of which was Black Panther at the time.
I think the other one was Civil War. Have you seen him in any?
Well,
oh, okay. I didn't mean that as a joke. I'm like, you said 2 movies, and then like those 2 Marvel movies, man.
No. I've seen him in other things, but like, because he tried to do like, well, he did other movies that weren't just Black Panther. But anyway, my point is,
he's done quite a bit of work. Yeah,
he was like a damn decent human being who was not against like being an ambassador. Like, he was like, there's some folks who like just want to get a paycheck and be a superhero or whatever, be a character, get a job.
You can almost tell which actors those are, because they're also the ones that turn it away once it becomes too much work for them.
Exactly. This dude, like, he recognized like how not important, but like but it is a little bit important it was to see a character that's black doing the same things as like Spider-Man or Batman or Superman, and being there and representing them and being, you know, inspirational and there's something valuable and important, and he recognized that was valuable and important, and despite having every reason not to be a decent, like not to be charitable and selfless, you know, he had every excuse to just kind of like be introverted or stay with his family and not do anything. But instead he goes out and he meets with other people who are suffering, and he meets with and keeps the whole of his torment to himself.
Yeah.
Like it is damn inspirational to like across the board, but especially for those who look to Chadwick for like that kind of inspiration. It was beautiful. I was like, wow. And I had no idea, so I felt like a complete rube. I was like, that's dope.
Chris Evans came out, became Captain America, and I think he's done a great job of embodying what a MCU actor should be because of the amount of people that he inspires.
Yep.
After about 5 years of him doing that and just being amazing, a lot of what he's done I ignored. So when Chadwick became Black Panther and apparently did what Chris Evans was doing, but better, because like Chris Evans, I mean, he's just your white guy who turns into a superhero, but he did it in such a good way. Chadwick had like the entire thing of like he's the first black superhero to be prominently featured in his own movie. He's the inspiration for not dozens, but millions of people. Yeah. And like you said, I wasn't even aware of like 90% of what he was doing. Because I just stopped following a lot of what the actors do in general past. Well,
I genuinely don't follow actors. I just don't care like what they're up to, and because I don't want to. I also don't want to, like, you know, people are like, you find out so and so like did something horrible. I'm like, no, I did not. It's too bad. But I do, like, I don't want to compare apples and oranges, but like what you know, but yeah, I'm almost a little disappointed in myself for not knowing his influence and what he was up to, because like. It was beautiful and inspiring. I'm like, holy crap, like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, and of course, like, and it's like, it's one thing after the other, right? Because you know he's selfless and kind and charitable, and you know, he dedicated his time and all this stuff to people like who are less fortunate than he was. And then you know about his illness, and he did it despite that, and that he kept it completely to himself and to his family, and that he used precious time that he could have used for himself, for others. Like, woof. Like,
it's a lot to take in, and everyone's like, well, what about Blade? Is the difference between Blade, your anti-hero, like, where he's supposed to be a bad, like, Black Panther was, even as a character, is that iconic hero, that noble hero who leads for his people. That kind of a situation.
It's a different kind of movie. Like, Blade was an action movie that I'm sure people derived meaning and representation from Blade, but it was presented in a different way, and it was on a different scale. Like, Blade didn't make $1 billion, and it wasn't nominated for an Academy Award, and it wasn't like, you know what I mean? Like, it was just a different kind of movie.
A lot of the things that went into Black Panther, I don't know if a lot of this came out at the end, but I know they were trying to do an entirely black staff. They were trying to do, it was a black director.
Yeah,
like, there was
black
a lot of
director,
things in it to, like, really make this movie succeeded. Because I feel like a lot of times movies like that fall into the same problem like female-led movies run into. Let's get all women in it. Oh, that's why it failed. You know what I mean? Like, so they're always trying to find ways to, let's get more recognizable white actors involved. And Black Panther showed, no, just make a good movie and you're fine. You can do it. It's not because it's populated by black actors and stuff like that. It's the whole nature. You know what I'm trying to say. I'm trying not to.
Absolutely.
Okay.
No, I understand. It's Black Panther is an achievement on a number of levels. Chadwick Boseman's influence is felt and has weight, and it's just like it's just very nice. It's if you can derive any goodness from this terrible tragedy, it's that his influence was pure and genuine, and and it'll be felt. Like, it won't just be that another actor regrettably and terribly passed away and he did something cool that we all enjoyed. It's like he used the time that he was given, which was shorter than most people know, and did it to make other people's lives better. Yeah. And if that weren't enough, like, he also used his position and his place in this, like, global franchise to reach people who felt underrepresented and showed them that what they have is achievable. And that's really cool. Like,
one thing that I find interesting about
way
it
to say it
is one thing I do find interesting about it is the industry as a whole, comic books, movies, and everything seemingly have come together to celebrate this man's life. Right. Actors pass away all the time. Like I said, and I don't mean to be morbid about it. I don't track a lot of them, but people, everything made you aware that he had passed away, even if you weren't on Twitter. Marvel's Avengers postponed its first update, which was Black Panther Wakandan themed, because it would seem insensitive. The game I'm playing, Strike Force, gave away Black Panther tokens, so you can have Black Panther on your team. Yeah, the
Comixology giveaway.
Comixology, that's the other one I was thinking of. The Comixology is, I think they either still are or they were giving away every Black Panther comic book to add to your collection. Yeah. It was a lot of people were celebrating his life in general, and to see people all coming out to celebrate this through Black Panther is just incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's such a nice thing in such a, like, controversial time, and it's such a tragic, it makes it even more tragic because it's like, oh man, like, how much more he could have done and how much influence he had, and but at the same time, like, right now at this point, at this period in our history, we're just celebrating his influence, his life, and his contributions. And that's really cool, and I hope that, like, we remember that. Yeah.
So, all right, I didn't want to make that into, like, our first topic and rush through it or anything.
No, like that would be weird to transition. Yeah,
yeah, that's what I mean. That's why I want to make it our last topic.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, that should bring our show to an end here, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. I hope you guys did enjoy it. I had fun today. Today was a good episode.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was very excited when I was talking to the audience when you were up. I was like, there's nothing outside of the Chadwick Boseman topic. There's nothing like that was like, the doors have been blown off. Somebody screwed up in a spectacular way. It's just like, here's some cool comic book news. Like, here's some stuff to talk about.
I feel like it's so rare for us to just get a cool comic book thing in general right now.
Yes.
So I'm happy with it. But yeah, you can find Sal over at Comic Pop. That's where he does his show. You can find me over at Comic Storians, where I do my show. You can support the show by subscribing right here on Twitch. Sal does make the money from all subscriptions that come through for these couple of days here. You can also go to the Patreon for Comic Pop or the Patreon for Comic Historian, where we give early access to this show, or you can go to the YouTube channel for Absolute Comics. It is uploaded there a week after we're done over here. I hope you guys show some support. If you don't, but just remember, listening, watching the show We appreciate everything you guys do. You guys make this show what it is. Otherwise, it'd be two weirdos just talking about comic books. Sal and I could do this all the time without being on air. I mean,
That's true.
I mean, when Sal and I do it, I don't have to shower. So,
Right? No, it's nice. I don't have to be ready. I could just be like, oh, I just need a shirt.
what are you doing, Benny? Let's do this. So, anyway, guys, thank you so much. We're going to close out the show here. Close out the recordings.